I heard that. What's up, guys? Welcome to GuildGab episode 32. This is a show all about everything Guild Wars 2. Me and my wonderful co-hosts are going to talk about Chronomancers today. We're going to maybe hint a little bit at some Guardian teaser art we saw. And the Daydreamer's Finery and the new fan stuff in the gem store. Dat male outfit, though. Right?
Yeah.
Joining me today are my wonderful co-hosts, Corvus Plays. I just realized I had the pre-show thing up. That's okay. It's cool. We're doing this on the fly.
Yeah, dude.
Corvus Plays, Alex of the RPG Shack, and Inks is joining me today. Akasaurus Rex is out, ? Sick, no internet, we're not quite sure, but hopefully he will be back. Possibly tomorrow. Anyway, let's get the show started with the big topic today, the Chronomancer. Woo! Totally knew it. Totally called it. I think everybody called Chronomancer.
We knew it. It was, like, considering how much, like, hype it had in when Utopia was being developed and that it came out that it was one of the classes that was dropped from Guild Wars 2 before launch. As soon as you see a Mesmer with a shield, and of course it was in the announcement trailer as well, but they didn't officially announce it at the time. Everyone's just like, not is it Chronomancer? So when are we going to hear about Chronomancer? Because we know it's happening.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
Well, it's not only the shield had like clockwork on it, but the well on the ground had the
skill,
ticking, the hands of a clock. I love the idea of that skill, though. You put down this giant well, and then like it ticks as the clock hands are ticking.
Yeah.
And, like you have these burst effects, and then when they meet, boom, and like everything just dies.
Yeah, like the animations are so cool. Like you're saying, you got the
so
hands,
good.
you got the hands on the ground that kind of coincide with the pulses of the wells, and there's shield walls and stuff. And what's really great is that I think it's like skill 3 on the Revenant hammer that follows you around. When you like put up a wall or something and it follows you around.
Yeah, it's the fields, the moves.
Yeah, and the I've completely forgotten what is it like. Tides of Time, the one that goes forward, freezes people, gives all your allies quickness or alacrity or something, and then comes back all the way through. But if you position when it starts coming back, you can like position yourself differently on the battlefield, like here, and it'll come back to you this way. It's really awesome. It's cool.
It's amazing. I was really like it kind of was a lot more than I expected from specializations, I think. Like, it felt like obviously it has, like, the running theme of the kind of base class, but it did feel super new and, like, deep in its own way, like, separate from, just the base Mesmer. And I was really happy to see that, like, they're taking these ideas and just, like, really pushing through with them. They're not, not just giving you kind of whatever skills and calling it something new. It's just...
Yeah, absolutely.
Completely different.
I think, too, one of the running themes that we're starting to see with elite specializations, I know we've only seen one so far, but even with the changes to core specializations, one of the running themes we're starting to see is ArenaNet is aware that there are players in the game who just mash buttons. Yeah. And so there's this negative stereotype, falsely, I might say, there's this false negative stereotype sometimes with the game where you'll hear people say, just press all the buttons. When they're off cooldown, you press the button. That's just how you play the game. And that's, especially in structured PvP, that's incredibly wrong. There's certain skills, and there's particular skills where you need to save it and use it at a particular time. There's a proper time and place to use those skills. And I think ArenaNet's become very self-aware of that. And so you're seeing with this elite specialization and changes to the core specializations that positional awareness and area awareness is becoming more and more important with these classes.
Yeah, definitely. Well, this is kind of their way of adding it. I don't know, like, because you're required. It's not like they're adding a base class that anyone can make. This is only accessed by you after you reach level 80, and so it's in its own kind of way. It's like it's some kind of. I mean, they've it's obviously progression for your characters and stuff like that, but they can make the new specializations a bit more hands-on, a bit more complicated, because they know that it's going to be in the hands of experienced players, and it's a good way for people to push themselves in a totally different way, which I know I just think it's a really super cool idea, and it's gonna add a lot more depth to just the same stuff you were doing before, killing stuff, but like you're doing it in a different way that's way more fun and way more hands-on, and it's got a kind of learning curve to it, and I think that's awesome.
You're giving people the option to play the class that you love in a new, more complicated way, like you said, but you don't have to.
Yeah,
that's the thing with these elite specializations. You don't, if you want to play your engineer and you don't want to go to the specialization, you don't want flying turrets and hammers or whatever they're going to get, then you don't have to. You can just keep playing your engineer. You can keep mashing buttons or whatever class you play, but you have that option now. I love the options. I always love options. So,
I mean, I think the big takeaway from Chronomancer is the new boon that it's getting, which is alacrity, and the ability to decrease the decrease the cooldown. So increase the cooldown, decrease the you know what I mean. So basically your skills recharge faster, and if you can use it in conjunction, and that's going to be, as far as I understand, that's going to be the first minor Chronomancer trait when it comes to filling out the elite specialization. And having that in the party, I obviously I hope it doesn't completely negate classic Mesmer, because I quite like playing Phantasm builds and that kind of thing. But alacrity is going to be insane if that's done right, especially when you combine it with the things like Time Warp and the F5 Shatter. I think there was something that I think you might have talked about it in the show with Teapot and Brazil the other day, Inks, that there's a combination of skills that you can do that gives you like 88 seconds of alacrity that just...
Yeah, I was actually sick, but I seen Boots put it up there. And I don't have the combination in front of me, but there is a combination that gives some insane amount of alacrity uptime, and it's something like 70 or 80 seconds worth, which is just sounds crazy.
And because we saw on the points of interest on Friday that it took 10 seconds off a 40-second recharge. Now that's an insane amount. I mean, even if even if it's taking 25% off an elite recharge that's got 240 seconds, you're shaving what a minute off of that cooldown. That's absolutely insane. You combine it with Time Warp and again the Shatter, so you can dip into like subspace or whatever they decide to call this alternate timeline. Crash your Time Warp again, then jump back to where you were before. It's absolutely staggering that it could be very, very overpowered. So I can probably see one of those, like the bracket things that you get on the runes and sigils, like kind of X number of seconds cooldown for that effect to ping again, or whether or not alacrity ends up being a set number of stacks, or that the duration can only be for a maximum number of seconds before you have to recharge it and kind of stack it up again. Because otherwise it's going to...
it's going to be
like
broken.
You said, like 75 seconds of alacrity is absolutely frigging insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're throwing a lot of numbers out there right now.
Yeah, absolutely.
And, a lot of that is not set in stone yet.
Yes.
These are numbers they're going to continue to play with up until the release, or probably pretty close to the release anyway. I imagine at some point they're going to let us get our hands on it so that we can play with it, give them proper feedback on how the numbers feel. I know that the podcast that they did on last Friday, they were already saying like, oh, you see this 60 seconds? That's not really 60 seconds. We've already upped that time because we know that's wrong. So, numbers are going to change and stuff, but it's nice that the community is giving them feedback already on napkin math that they've done, and says, hey, 70 seconds of uptime, this, nearly infinite uptime almost in some cases. This is insane. You really need to consider and look at this, because having that much quickness, for example, is probably not a good thing.
Oh.
So
No, not at all.
Uh-oh. Hold on. We might have... we have incoming.
I'm just...
There he is.
Hey, man. I'm just envisioning rapid-fire quickening Zephyr and alacrity. And
yeah.
And the thing is, we are going to be so overpowered, Inks. Everyone's going to be like, oh my god, I need a ranger in my party.
Ranger's already OP, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, so, Mesmer, Chronomancer, anyway, I really thought that the specialization sounds interesting. It sounds really great. I love this this cadence that you're going to need to keep alacrity rolling. It's a vital part of that, elite specialization. What's most interesting about it to me is Mesmers are already fairly strong in, let's say, World vs. World, for example, as roamers, or even in structured PvP. So a good Mesmer, someone who's very good at the class, is already really strong. This is going to make those players who are already good at it even stronger.
Yeah.
And those people who are not very good at Mesmers, or who are mediocre at Mesmers, are not very good at paying attention to their shatter cadence, for example.
Yeah.
This is going to make, or even new players who are not used to the class, such as myself, for example, this is going to make those players have a learning curve that might be a bit steep. So it's definitely going to give players a separation of, here is a decent or mediocre Mesmer, and here is a really good Mesmer. And players generally in MMO communities, or even in game communities, really like to have those distinctions of, this guy is a very good Mesmer, and you can clearly see why he is a good Mesmer.
Yeah.
He or she,
absolutely.
for that matter.
I mean, the thing is that they're gonna. You've got 80 levels to get used to the class anyway before you can even think about unlocking your specialization. So hopefully, by the time you get to that point where you can start unlocking this kind of thing. Actually, that's the point. Is the specialization going to be warded off till level 80?
Yes.
Because yeah, thought so. Because otherwise, can you just imagine like a level 2 Mesmer or whatever just suddenly starting to dump hero points into a into Chronomancer without like anything else, without any fast casting or anything like that. But one of the really cool things I was thinking about the other day was with this. I think it's Tides of Time. I'm just going to grab the blog post again. With Tides of Time, where it goes out and it stuns people, and it comes back and it gives you effect, and it gives you guys quickness. You get a team of Chronomancers out and about, because I'm going to assume that this skill is going to be capped at affecting 5 people, like most things seem to be in the game for some reason. But you have a team of Chronomancers out and about. You time that correctly, you can stun half a Zerg there when you time it, and then just boom. Of course, it's going to be incredibly funny when both sides have teams of Chronomancers and everyone's just like stuck there, waiting for the cooldown to come off.
Yeah, Chronomancer actually, if you play World vs. World in a Zerg setting, which I don't so much anymore, but when I did, I can see Chronomancers adding a very new dimension to that area of the game as well. Currently, Necromancers, excuse me, jeez. Currently, Mesmers in a World vs. World Zerg play a very distinctive portal veil role. In other words, they try to hide the Zerg as best as they can. They're very much portal bots. They use particular skills, and there's not a lot of variation, or at least there's not too much variation that goes into that. And Chronomancer definitely gives those players the viability to not only run what they've always been running, because those players are important to the Zerg, but Chronomancers adds this other dimension to that class that makes them viable in other ways as well, which is great, because they definitely need that variety there.
I think Chronomancer was such a strong specialization to start on.
Oh yeah, it got everybody hyped.
It's just starting strong is. It's a good thing and a bad thing, right? Because you can get people super hyped, and you just, I guess I just hope they can deliver that with all of them. I'm really nervous about Necromancer. I think like purely based off seeing how much they're changing stuff with the Mesmer, like they could go in a direction or a style of play that I just don't like, and I'm really worried about that because I don't really have a backup class.
I don't think fundamentally fundamentally they're changing too much. It's still a very kind of control-based class, and you're still going to be very, very reliant on your on your shatters. If you want to make the most of them, because that's the thing. Everyone's going to be F5ing once they get the specialization to get this kind of time. It's a continuum shift and continuum split, isn't it? Which is such a great idea. It's
really,
so
really
cool.
good idea.
Do you guys think it's going to function something a little bit like stealth? So are you going to be like frozen for other players to see where you are and where you are when you activated it, and then you're gonna
you leave a symbol or something, and that's attackable. And you can attack that. It has its own health bar. If that's destroyed before you continuum shift back or whatever, whichever one is which, before you switch back to it, then you'll switch back to it whether you were ready or not.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can make enemies like kind of teleport back, and I think they mentioned that you could lay out loads of AOE stuff and just like have them teleport back into a meteor shower or something.
Yes!
Like that.
Oh my gosh! When they described that on Poi, I was like, oh, dude, you gotta. It's not just like this OP end all ability. Like your enemies have a say over. When they said you can just meteor shower down on that and then force the Mesmer back into a meteor shower. That was so cool. And I love that there's also the fact that this is, again, specializations, it's kind of like a higher level of play. Like, you can't just continuum shift, or continuum split, I think is you split off and then continuum shift is going back. So you gotta pay attention to all your recharges, your health bar. If you continuum split when your health bar is super low, when you're about to die, and then you can't, and then while you're in the other dimension or whatever, if you heal yourself, when you go back, you're gonna unheal yourself.
Exactly.
You really have to kind of pay attention. It's a higher level of play.
I think that's it. Like, it can be a super powerful thing that you could use to your advantage, but it's also a huge risk. And so people who use it, without thinking about it, could actually get themselves in a bad situation. And I think that's really cool. Like we were saying, it's just higher level of skill is required to use it properly, and I think that's amazing.
As the specialization should be.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
For sure.
It's like the elite specialization. Hopefully the first of many.
Yeah.
Sounds like it.
So I wonder what'll be next.
Speculating
too far ahead now.
They had that interesting. I think it, not an illusion. They were. It's escaping my mind right now. Not the illusions, but the other ones. The phantasms, excuse me.
Yeah.
The shield phantasms that throw the Captain America-like shield. That Robert Key didn't want to infringe, but very cool. There's a trait, I believe it's a trait that allows them to like blow them up and they come right back. There's so many synergies with Chronomancer, with the other core specializations, that it's like, I don't know. They're for those who like that think tank, who like to experiment and theory craft with builds. Chronomancer definitely provides you with just a deep well to draw from, which is interesting.
Yeah, definitely.
I found it all very confusing but cool at the same time.
Right. Yes, same. I don't really play Mesmer. Like, I leveled it from 1 to 80, and now she just kind of sits and does the jungle worm whenever it comes up. Like, I don't play Mesmer actively, so reading about it's going to be like that for a lot of the specializations for me, because I've played them all, but I don't actively play all the classes. So, like, reading about Chronomancer, just the name got me excited, for one.
Yeah.
Because of the Guild Wars Utopia and because of reasons. But so that's I feel like for me that's kind of how all of them are going to be, except Guardian. And I think for a lot of people it's going to be like that, except for their main, because everybody has their main.
Yeah.
So that's how I felt about Chronomancer, and then Monday was all hype for me.
Yeah.
I think someone's raised a very valid point in chat. That they said they're afraid. I'm afraid taking elite specializations will become mandatory for every class, but maybe I'm misunderstanding something. Probably because Arena and that won't do that right. I think that's going to be addressed with another class rebalance, especially what's coming in with the trait reworking. I think that every class is going to experience a power increase, just simply of the way that you're getting 3 trait lines, and you guess that's your numbers aren't technically being boosted, but it's going to look a little bit like that because the numbers on your armor are going to increase. But having those 3 full trait lines there, it's certainly going to increase your power. So you're still going to get there's still going to be some classic build viability from whatever is left of the original builds. So like DPS Guardian or Spotter Ranger or whatever. So those I can't see those builds becoming useless overnight just because you've got a few new shiny things in game. People are going to figure out which ones are great for X activity. People are going to figure out which ones suck for World v World and that kind of thing. So there's going to be. I still think you're going to end up seeing 16 classes in game. 18 classes in game. You're not going to end up seeing 9 new classes in game, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's an important. Go ahead.
Oops, sorry.
Go ahead,
No, you go ahead. It's obviously not going to become mandatory, but I think it's safe to say that for a month or 2 after the expansion comes out, everyone's going to be playing a specialized class. Like, that's just how it's going to be. But like you were saying, there's going to be roles for all of them. And like I was saying earlier about Necromancer, like I might not enjoy the specialization as much as like my Power Necro or something like that. And so I'm going to revert back to what I enjoy playing the most. And that'll happen across the board. So it's either going to be useful or people are going to prefer different things. I don't think they will ever do anything that's going to mean that you have to be specialized, right? Like it's an option and you can change whenever you want out of combat. So
I think it's going to be neat that possibly like for certain dungeon groups or certain PvP matches, you're going to say, okay, we need we're going to want someone to be a ranger, and then we're going to want a druid. We're going to want a chronomancer, and then we're going to want a mesmer. It's going to be, those are, like you said, it's going to be 18 classes. But the specializations, it'll be interesting to say, okay, so we need a Chronomancer, but we need someone who actually knows how to play a Chronomancer, and someone who's not just going to go in there and mash buttons and pretend they're a Chronomancer.
I think that it's very important for people to realize that, taking an elite specialization will not be mandatory. It will never be mandatory. Players in their own minds are going to make it mandatory for themselves because it's the new thing to play. If you're not playing a Revenant, for example, which is going to be the new profession, then you play a Ranger or you play, a Mesmer. You're going to want to play Chronomancer. You're going to want to play Druid. If you play Warrior, you're going to want to play whatever the specialization is because you feel like that's the thing you should be doing. It's the new hotness for your class.
Yeah.
But it's important, I think, for some people to realize, certainly you should definitely play it. You should definitely test it out and see if it's for you. The hard truth, the hard realization for some people is going to be that it's not for them. It's not their type of play style, because it's important to remember that these play styles, Chronomancer, for example, they're very specific in what they do. And if you don't like that specific thing or it doesn't mesh well with the way you play, then you shouldn't force yourself to play it because you're going to start to dislike a class that you've loved for 2 or 3 years.
Yeah, agreed.
And I'm afraid that some people are going to fall into that trap.
Yeah. I think the good thing to focus on there, though, is that there's twice as many options for an alternative now, though. Like, you can play the main that you're used to, but maybe you don't like the specialization of your main, but another class gets a specialization that actually really fits how you want to play. And so, while they're not closing any doors, and you might not enjoy the door that they're opening for your main. There's a few other doors that you could potentially choose from. I actually might enjoy a druid more than the necromancer specialization. Who knows?
Well, of course you will, because it's a ranger, and rangers are
Anything called druid is automatically awesome.
That is true. That is true.
That just goes without saying. But I really like how they've like the way that they're implementing the core specialization with these elite specializations. It makes it when you choose like the elite, even though the elite specializations are kind of big thing of changing, as I say, the fundamental ways, you only get 2 extra trait lines, and it makes because you're only getting 3 trait lines no matter what, it does make it makes like if you want to kind of like Corvus, this is your kind of saying, if you want to go back to the old class, then you have more ways to specialize that old class.
Yeah, exactly.
And that way, it doesn't. I don't think it's going to feel quite so much like people like, oh, I have to get this super powered class, because it's like, it really does feel like it's kind of like specializing the already class into a more distinct role.
Into a niche.
This is
yeah.
Inks was saying that it's a specific thing. But yeah.
And like with the changes to like the core traits and that kind of thing, like there's gonna be so much more to do with the classes that are already in the game anyway. Like they've helped out a lot of areas where classes were lacking just by changing some of the traits around or combining some of them. And while it's not technically going to be a part of the expansion because it's coming before, like I think that's still it's a good backup to have. Like it's going to change some of the ways that people play the current classes anyway, and the specializations are there if you want to, and it's good.
I think that by and large it's been a pretty good hit, hasn't it, Chronomancer, across the board?
Yeah.
Oh God,
I haven't heard anyone who dislikes it.
No, me neither. I don't know, quite a few people have made new Mesmers as well.
Stuff, so.
Yeah, exactly. That's popular these days.
And the funny thing, I totally didn't plan this, but speaking of the timey-wimey nature of the Chronomancer, I'm actually wearing my Dalek housecoat. See the things here? Yeah.
Oh, now then. Now then.
That's the lower side of the Dalek.
Oh, dearie me. I was going to say something then, but I've completely forgotten. It's just been burned out of my head. Yeah, it's completely gone. It was something to do with Chronomancer, though, I tell you that. It was going to be a very valid point.
What were we talking about? Just people liking it, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. And, yeah, it's going to be cool. It's going to be so cool.
It is, man. It is. It totally is.
I wonder how...
Mesmer.
I don't want to say grindy, but I wonder how, like, to achieve Chronomancer, like, how many mastery points, like, how much are we going to have to play? As an altaholic, like, am I going to want to... Uh-oh, where'd my camera go? As an altaholic, am I really going to want to sit and grind and earn every single one of my alts, their specializations? Like, eventually I do. And I think it's going to give me something else to do because I love leveling alts, but I'm like, out of character slots. Can we have another character slot sale, please? Because I'm like, out of slots. And so that's going to give me something
one for each elite.
else to do, to get every one of the specializations. So that'll take a while. But I just wonder how long it's going to take to actually do this. So, like, I don't really care for engineer. So do I want to go for the engineer specialization if it doesn't blow my mind? I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you do. Engineers are awesome.
I would hope.
You're going to have a hammer.
The honest answer is we don't know at this point, but I would hope that playing through the new zones, however many those happen to be, but playing through the new region in general, whatever skill points are there should be enough for you to fill out that elite specialization. So I don't know. We don't know how many maps or how many skill points in each map, but let's just garner an average guess of 3 to 4 maps, 3 to 4 skill points per map. That's what, 12 skill points or something. And if it's only 12 to say 20 skill points, or hero points rather, then that won't be too hard to get, even if you go back to the old world if you don't have it fully unlocked, let's say, and grab those real quick.
Right.
Something I'm like really curious about. This is about the actual story of Heart of Thorns. Is that I was kind of curious for the story instances. Like, I don't think ArenaNet has actually said precisely how long they're going to be. Like, is it going to be like the equivalent of like all of season 2, for instance? As far as
that's
length
an interesting
They
point,
haven't
actually.
said. I would imagine the instances
idea.
themselves will be comparable to the Living World season instances. Season 2, they kind of refined a lot of stuff in season 2, so I would imagine that it would be similar to that. You know, some of them could be super short, some of them could be long, depending on how much story, depending on how much fighting you have to do. But as far as the overall story, we really have no idea. We're getting more clues, like, okay, we're going to have to meet and befriend the Itzel, we're going to have to meet and befriend the Nuhawk, you know, and then just the whole thing with the Sylvari and finding the Pact officers, and there's going to be branching storylines. So it's going to be substantial, I think.
Yeah, it has to be. I mean, they said the whole of Season 2 was like a setup, like... And to me, that kind of sounds like an introduction or something, right? Like, it gives you the reasons why we're there. And so I can imagine it being longer than Season 2. Like, it has to be. I mean, obviously, Season 2 felt a lot longer than it was just because of the time between episodes and stuff. But I think it should, just because it's an expansion. And there's already people saying that Heart of Thorns feels like a kind of small expansion just because of the amount of zones we're getting. That hopefully the story kind of is the same length as a personal story, right? Like a huge campaign to play through. I'd hope so anyway. Something close to that.
I'm just like really curious because like in like a traditional expansion, which this is obviously not going to be a traditional expansion, which is really kind of interesting, is that you typically have like, okay, here's your new leveling content of like 5 levels or whatever. And then once you level through that story, you then get patches that continue the story, like 2 or 3 patches to continue the story, and then the expansion is over, and that takes about a year and a half almost, sometimes 2 years to go through. So I was kind of curious, like,
I hope people don't blow through the story in like a day. And they're like, there's nothing to do. Did you read anything? Did you skip all cinematics? Then yeah.
Something interesting about the story that we do know is that for example, that demo area that many of us played, there will be replayable options there, and they'll be immediately replayable with immediate payoffs. Yeah. So, you know, whatever branches the story does take, do you want to save this squad? Do you want to ignore the squad? There will be 2 separate story instances there, so there will be multiple paths that you can play. You can replay them almost instantly, so you don't have to, like, play through the whole story and then come back and play it. It's just... it's nice that they're taking that approach to it. Something that me and Peachy talked about with a few friends the other night was rather interesting. I'd be interested to hear your guys' take on this. Do you really think that Heart of Thorns' story is going to end with the death of Mordremoth? Or with us fighting him, even?
I don't know.
What if it doesn't end that way? How do you feel about that?
If it doesn't,
I'd be happy with it. Yeah.
If it doesn't, I'd be kind of annoyed, mainly because Mordremoth wasn't one of the original revealed dragons, and I already kind of feel like we've wandered off in a non-base game direction, even though what was going on with the Sylvari they planned for, you know, since the end of Eye of the North. It's just, Mordremoth doesn't engage me to the point that someone like Kralkatorrik or Primordus does. And I think the best way for the game to progress is that you get a big old expansion, and a big old expansion takes on 1 dragon at a time. So the thing is, it's called Heart of Thorns. It's about the jungle, and it's about Mordremoth, and it seems kind of a little bit pointless if you have the huge hype that Heart of Thorns is getting. You know, and everyone's like, oh my god, you know, we've got all of these kind of new metagame features with the specializations, the new classes, hero points, traits, and all the rest of it. But if it doesn't end with a dragon fight, I think a lot of people are going to be very annoyed. And even if we don't kill him outright, I think we should end up defeating him.
Yeah, definitely defeating him in some way.
I think he should be out to count.
Pulling his like heart out from his beating chest, or something.
Making a salad out of his vines.
See, I agree with you, Alex. I think if we don't kill Mordremoth, then does that mean we would have to deal with him? You know, like the next bit of story we get after the expansion, is that going to be still dealing with Mordremoth, right? It seems unlikely to me. I think it would kind of close that book and like move on. That being said, there's a part of me that thinks that maybe we're not going to stretch as deep into the jungle. Just, I don't know why I have this idea that it's maybe not going to be as big as I'm hoping it's going to be. And and maybe the story isn't going to stretch that far. I don't know why I feel that way. I just have this weird feeling. So I think on paper it should end with Mordramoth being killed, but maybe we don't do that. And there's some kind of story reasons as to why. There's the stuff about the balance and that kind of thing. So maybe we don't. Maybe we resolve the Mordramoth stuff, but we don't actually kill him because of story reasons or something like that. I don't know.
That's kind of what I'm hoping is as far, because I've said this many times before, but I love the idea of that killing Zaitan messed up the balance. And we learned that was wrong. And so maybe through the story we learn that maybe we shouldn't kill Mordramoth, or maybe we should replace him or something, or the story kind of goes in this unexpected direction. Because I think everybody does expect us to kill Mordramoth at the end of this.
Mm-hmm.
But we have got a big part of the Heart of Thorns story is going to be Glint's egg, isn't it?
Glint's legacy.
Glint's secret. Yeah. Glint has a secret or a legacy that she left in the jungle for us. So that's going to be a big part of it for sure.
Didn't we talk on a previous GuildGab about like some weird nursery full of baby dragons or something?
Yeah, and it was her uncle.
Uncle Shimmershanks.
That's right. Yeah.
I was drinking.
With your cousin Smudge, she's been drinking some tea. Come on in.
I agree that though if we don't kill Mordramoth at the end of the expansion, I think there's going to be rage. I personally would be okay either way, because I just think that there should be even more of an epic build up before we actually bring down an Elder Dragon. Because although the personal story was as long as it was, and that was our build-up to killing Zaitan, there was so much beforehand, before Guild Wars 2 even launched. There was novels and stuff about the rise of Zaitan and the rise of the Elder Dragon. So this was like this long legacy building up to defeating Zaitan, whereas Mordramoth, we kind of just found out that he exists. We didn't even know that he existed until end of season 1.
Right, and one of the things that we talked about was we're getting a new region in Heart of Thorns, which has X number of maps. We don't know how many, 3, 4, 5, whatever. Are you really only going to spend the next year within those maps? In other words, Living Story Season 3 is going to pick up at some point after Heart of Thorns launches, and that is going to pick up probably after whatever story we get in the expansion. Would be a guess anyway. Where does that story take you? If you kill Mordramoth, where does that story lead? Does it stay in the jungle, and then what does that involve? You have to think a little bit ahead and think we have probably another 2 years until an expansion after this one. And I know it's crazy to think about another expansion when we don't even have this expansion. But thinking about Living World or Living Story side of this, we're going to have 2 seasons at least of doing what exactly? You kill Mordramoth, and then you have 2 seasons of chasing to the next dragon to get to the next expansion to kill that one.
Right.
I mean, there will be side stories, there will be things that will happen for sure. But it just seems to me like there is a possibility at least that either we don't kill Mordramoth, maybe we fight him, drive him deeper into the jungle or something. Maybe he awakens at the end of the expansion and now he's fully fleshed out like Zaitan is. Something happens with that. And so then we have a whole season of killing him, maybe. I don't know the answer, obviously, but we have 2 years until we have, Heart of the Desert or whatever. I don't know. But, what happens in those 2 years? Do we kill him in this expansion? I mean, I think it's a valid question.
Right.
That's a really, really interesting point. Like, I hadn't really thought about where, season 3 could really take us, and they're going to want us to hang around in the jungle a lot more than just, while we're playing through the story, really, or at least until the season starts. Like, but then I at the same time, I think it'd be really weak of them to have a dragon die in a Living Story kind of scenario instead of an expansion. And
what happened in this expansion? We've worked further towards killing Mordramoth.
And then
rather than in Heart of Thorns, we slayed Mordramoth.
But I totally see your point, and maybe halfway through the story in the jungle we get something that hints at where the living world could take us next or something like that. Who knows? I would way rather that, even if it meant a huge delay on the expansion, that they took the time to really craft an amazing story that led up to killing Mordremoth for the expansion. Even if it meant waiting till, you know, next year or something like that, I wouldn't mind. I really want it to be in this huge big package. Because I want to be proud of it, you know, and be like, hey, look, this is Guild Wars 2's expansion, and we did this all this awesome stuff in it.
Yeah.
I think that
I was sorry. I just wanted to jump here on part of this thing. I was just thinking that I don't know if they could swing it, but it would be super, super cool because they love to put focuses on like making your own choice. It would be really cool if when the moment comes to actually have a big battle with Mordremoth, it'd be kind of cool if like whatever we find out from Clint's egg or something, that what if you could actually have a choice between those who are like ridiculously pissed off at Mordremoth / Sylvari, evil Sylvari and stuff of what they've been doing and killing and murdering, but then you also have the other more big picture people saying, yeah, but now we actually have the means to, say, purify Mordremoth, so that you could either kill Mordremoth or purify Mordremoth, and either way you'd still be taking him out of the equation, so to speak, so that when the expansion ends you can still, the seasons can still move you into a complete another story, but and I think it'd be kind of cool to either you either kill him or Peachy, you'd like this, you know, to do the Sailor Moon purify thing.
I think that would obviously cause a lot of holes in
yeah,
that's be a set, consistent lore.
A lot of plot holes there.
But I do really like the idea of purifying. Like, and if that ends up being the way we go, if, say, we find out some secret about Glint or something, and it gives us the opportunity to save Mordremoth from being some kind of evil dude.
We should vote.
No, absolutely not. Because if there's anything I learned from cutthroat politics, it's that the Guild Wars community cannot be trusted. Well, yes, and it's rigged as well, but we can't be trusted to make the best choice for us. Which is weird considering it's the general election in the UK tomorrow, but there we go.
We just had big election stuff happen here. Oh my god. Sorry.
One of the things that I'm actually really interested in is, what Inks was saying about, where we go from season 3, is that I think season 3 will probably stay in the jungle, and I think we'll be dealing with the Nightmare Court, because I'm fairly certain that the Nightmare Court are a third faction within Heart of Thorns that are gonna try and throw a bit of a spanner in the works to what we're trying to do. And on top, because I don't think they're completely corrupted by, I say corrupted by Mordremoth, I don't think they're completely underneath Mordremoth's spell, because they've obviously got their own ideas separate from the dream and separate from what happens at the end of season 2. So I think the Nightmare Court have very much got their own agenda, and of course, once whatever happens to Mordremoth, if we do kill him, we've got the fallout to deal with what happens to the Sylvari after Mordremoth's died. Because what happens to the corrupted Sylvari once we kill Mordremoth? You know, do they just go,
at the same
it was a crazy dream?
Well, the Risen remain unchanged, right? But we're slowly killing them and reducing their numbers. But the corrupted Sylvari, that's a good point, because they're obviously going to be under some kind of control. Are we going to be able to save them, or are they just going to stay as these weird minion things that we just have to slowly get rid of? Like, that's actually a super interesting point.
I'd be like really worried though about the whole thing of Sylvari fatigue, because I'm totally psyched for the Heart of Thorns and it's gonna be great and everything, but afterwards I desperately want something new and fresh, and I'd be worried about it just because with my other MMO that's dear to me, they have something that's called Orc fatigue, where Blizzard doesn't really get the fact that they've got Orc fatigue. It's like orcs. That's how it's feeling. Even though they're kind of like wrapping up essentially what needs to wrap up story-wise in many ways, people are feeling like it's like orcs, and then you could get that sensation of Sylvar. It's like salad for breakfast, salad for lunch, salad for dinner, and cucumber ice cream. It's like, no!
I think that's the way they've set it up from the get-go, though. We're talking, 7 or 8 years ago that they first decided this was the direction they were going to push in, because where have my words gone? The end of Eye of the North, like one of the last things you see is that sprout coming up out of the ground on, the first the pale tree flowering.
Pale tree.
Yeah, and I think that they're really, really heavily invested in the Sylvari, and I think this is, we've seen season 2, well, even season 1 really, because because we had Scarlet. I think season 1 probably to end of season 3 is very much going to revolve around the Sylvari and dealing with the fallout of the end of Heart of Thorns. And like you said, we're already talking 18 months, 2 years down the line. Speculating out what's going to happen after we've done all this content we don't even have access to.
Well, that depends on how Heart of Thorns ends. If we kill Mordremoth and the Sylvari are freed, and perhaps that's possibly going to tie into whatever Glint's legacy. Maybe there's going to be something there that helps us free the Sylvari, disconnect them from Mordremoth. Because that's the whole thing, is that the Sylvari are minions of the Seldar Dragon, which we've been fighting. So if we find a way in Heart of Thorns to separate them from that, then that could be our kind of a closing to the Sylvari story. And like you said, we can kind of move on from that and start, whether we talk about the human politics with Krydex, we've had these little seeds here and there with a lot of stuff with the human politics, so maybe we could go into that, or the Char, or anything else. There's
Char expansion.
Tons of possibilities.
Yeah. I'd like to see some snow after the trip in the jungle. Like, if we go against Stormag, that'd be pretty awesome. Modremoth actually just messaged me on Skype with a cool idea for Season 3. He said that, expansion deals with us getting rid of Modremoth and that kind of thing, but he said Season 3 could take us to the Maguma Waste, further into the jungle and deal with the White Mantle and the more Bloodstone stuff, and which would help us solve some of the whole leyline magic eating, maybe, and kind of give us a new way to tackle that to prevent the other dragons getting a hold of that kind of stuff. I think I would love to deal with more of the Bloodstone stuff, and I really hope we see some of it in the expansion. But if for whatever reason we don't deal with that that much of that kind of stuff, that'd be a good way to make us stay in the jungle for Season 3 and deal with more stuff around there while they set up other things before we go north.
I definitely think for Season 3 we're going to be staying in the jungle, but maybe not dealing with the Mordrum and all of that, because that's going to, after the expansion, that's going to get kind of tired, because that's what we're going to be doing throughout the expansion is the Mordrum and Mordremoth. So, but there's tons of storylines they've set up for that. We've got the Golden City and the Exalted. We've got Glint's Legacy. We've got tons of stuff. Like I said, the Eternal Alchemy and restoring the balance. I just think that I pray that that's going to become a big part of the story.
I think if we're pushing in that direction as well, the direction that we seem to be going actually physically on the map for Heart of Thorns, the Lake and Isles of Janthir aren't too far away from where we're going, which is the homeland, or whatever you want to call it, for the Massat. And already the Massat are going to be tied into seem like they're going to be tied into Heart of Thorns, and bringing the Bloodstone and the White Mantle back into it, even maybe not within a subplot for Heart of Thorns, but even as a Season 3 kind of extension, as like Peachy was saying, as we start to move away from the Mordrum and the Sylvari and all the rest of it, bringing some more of that old Guild Wars 1 lore in, and because of course they've said for the longest time that the Bloodstones are going to come back into the game at some point. Yeah, and
it'd be cool to deal with Mordremoth, and then it's not like it's over, because it'll never really be over, but they kind of lay out, okay, this is what we need to do next and this kind of thing, and then it can end, and then picks up again a few months later when Season 3 starts, and it keeps us in that kind of area and keeps it consistent with the expansion, because I think it would be strange to just suddenly jump to another part of the world. We did it, everyone's happy. It'd be a way better use of storytelling to just kind of stay a bit relevant and say okay, this is what we need to do next, and this, we're not done yet just because we killed the dragon.
Right.
Dragons.
I'd like to see the gods come back. That'd be a nice opener.
I really
think there's
going
to be some lore with the gods for sure. I think that's going to come into it.
I mean, we've seen a lot of Balthazar stuff recently. You know, I don't know if that means anything. But...
Balthazar armor set, Balthazar weapons.
Yeah.
In the first game, they got a set of Balthazar weapons.
There's the Balthazar back piece in PvP.
Yeah, and there's the Balthazar temple in the Maguma jungle. So, who knows? We might see some more Balthazar.
There's a hell of a lot of possibilities that they can take these stories in right now, isn't there?
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah.
It's crazy how much stuff. It's exciting.
It is. Here's a question that I've wondered since we're talking about story. Do you think that the Biconic characters, Bram, Casimir, Jory, I guess Jory already has. Do you think that they're gonna get the specializations? Jory already pretty much has her great Necro Greatsword, so she pretty much is currently training. But do you think Casimir's going to become a Chronomancer? Do you think Rox is going to become a Druid?
That would be awesome.
That's a good question.
I mean, it would.
I think maybe some of them, if the situation and the story calls for it. There's a reason that Jory is using the Greatsword, so it makes sense that she would become the Necro specialization. But like Rox, I don't see her becoming a Druid.
Yeah, she doesn't really need to.
Yeah. That's the
point.
Like,
I think it depends on the character for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think if they all became specialized, it would be kind of like, hey, player character, you should definitely specialize. And
exactly. But if some of them stay, then that's telling the player character it's okay to keep playing a ranger, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, it would also be like a great kind of like lore-wise to bring it in and like not have like a huge like focus, so that it's sort of a way to kind of like instead of giving you like a whole like new class zone to tell you about your new class, revenant, whatever, like to actually have the main characters kind of go through their own personal class discovery as a sort of side quest thing. Like if like I know that Rox and most typical Char that we've met have been this very industrialized, anti-spiritual religious group, but I mean, if she goes in there and if she actually goes through like her own epiphanies and discovers the way of the Druid, then that could be a way to players to understand, oh, that's what this whole Druid thing is about.
Yeah, I think that's it as well. Like
same for other characters too.
If you're playing through the story and say we meet Jory fairly close to the start of the expansion, and it's all like, you know, she's talking about how much of a big deal it is that she's specialized, and you can see her actively working on it, you know, across a few instances or something. It will then feel amazing when you finally progress enough to specialize, because you've been introduced. It's been introduced to you as some kind of a big deal, and so it's going to feel like that when you finally get there. Otherwise, it might just be like, okay, I've done this, and you know, it's
going to be
like
more
a mechanical thing.
Right. It's going to be more tied to the story and lore rather than just a numbers or system switch.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, kind of fun. Also, sorry, Inks. I was just going to quickly say that it would be really awesome to see Timey with her own little hammer that she used to like lean on, and she'll just like whack it every time.
So I think it's interesting. Certainly, you can already see the connection with Jory and her sister becoming whatever the Necromancer is going to become with the Greatsword. You know, Casimir, you know, maybe she could become a Chronomancer. We know that there is this sort of secret society of Mesmers that she belongs to, or this guild of Mesmers that she belongs to that we don't really know much about. You know, perhaps somehow there's a story thread that involves that and her becoming a Chronomancer. There's certainly, we don't know much about the Guardian at this point, but there's a thread with Brahm. We know that he is looking for Air. She's somewhere lost in the jungle. And what if it turns out that Air doesn't survive for whatever reason? And then he wants revenge, just like Marjorie wants revenge on Mordremoth. This now ties in. You know, he could evolve in some way that, you know, he is now after Mordremoth and he gets whatever that specialization is. So I think that there's stories and threads there, and if they are going to give them specializations, you know, I hope that there is at least some, you know, ambient conversation or perhaps just a moment in the spotlight for them to say, hey, this is happening, I'm training for this, or I've changed my stance, or I've changed my outlook on a particular thing, and this is why I'm now doing whatever.
Yeah.
rather than just saying, "Hey, I'm a Chronomancer because reasons."
Because ArenaNet said so.
Yes.
Yeah. Or Jory dies and Casimir becomes a Chronomancer to turn back time to bring Jory back.
Exactly.
That'd be amazing.
So yeah, I mean, I don't even know what class Timey is supposed to be. A guardian, sort of, but Brahm is a guardian.
Right.
She was
engineerish.
Engineermentalist.
Yeah.
I would.
Some of them have like defined roles, and others are a bit less defined. So that's kind of interesting.
Yeah.
But there's definitely story threads there that they could expand upon, and I hope that they do expand upon those.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, because there's a bit in one of the later, well, like we were saying that Jory's got the great sword. There's like the little snippets of conversation where I think she's talking with either Cass or Brahm, and she's talking about Rock's training her with the great sword. Just kind of little snippets like that I'd love to see them incorporate into our story.
For sure. Yeah. Real quickly, let's end the show with what do you guys think about the new items in the gem store, the Daydreamer's Finery and the fan. I forget what the fan's called.
What do you mean? Do you mean the one that's this?
The one that's not meant for a Norn.
I don't know what Richie's talking about. He could totally pull it off.
Not enough nipples, though, dude.
Just what?
It seems to be, the male version seems to be kind of a fan favorite. People wanted some people anyway wanted skimpy male outfits.
They did. There they go.
This
I
fills
approve.
that role a little bit.
I approve. I think it might be the first one where I like the male one more than the female one. The female one just looks like a mess to me. It's too much. Maybe with the right coloring, it could look good, but it just looks to me like it's just too busy.
Just that it's crap. It's like I don't. I'm really sorry to the person who designed it because obviously a lot of work's gone into it and there's like some nice detailing on there, but did you just run out of time to not design this bit? Because if it's not ready, tell Colin. I'm sure he'll understand and give you another week on it or something. But come on.
You gotta give something for the fangirls and the fanboys who enjoy that kind of thing. So there you go.
Yeah.
Alex is being very British, everyone. So just let him go.
I approve of it. I don't know if we're gonna buy it, but I approve of it.
It was for me. It was just another outfit that I don't really like, and I don't think I'll use. I don't really have that much need for outfits anyway. To be honest, I have a really. I've on most of my characters I have a look I like and I'm kind of done with it. I think they're really useful for alts and I totally see the point of them, but I don't know, just outfits don't interest me too much.
I
wish they did more.
My mental nonsense says I want to collect all the outfits. At this point, I'm missing 5 or 6 of them, so it doesn't matter anymore. But
they're coming out with a new one every other week. It's like
it's rate
awesome
they
that
pump them out
getting
anymore
these updates. I mean, it's
variety,
cool. They're adding stuff
for sure. Variety is great. It's going to appeal to different people. Some people are going to love it. Some people are not going to love it. And so I'm glad that that's there for them.
And it was a problem as well when outfits were first a thing, was just that there was only a few and you'd see the same. Like at Halloween, everyone had the hexed one or whatever.
Right.
It was just... So it's good. I think it's really good that they're adding more. And maybe there'll be one that I super like at some point.
Do you have any of them, Corvus?
I have the one from Halloween. That's the only outfit I have.
The one that you could actually earn in-game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's nothing to do with the gem store. I basically pay a sub fee for the game every month, but it's just with gems, but I don't know, I just don't like any of them yet.
Yeah.
So
there will be one that you love.
There will be.
There will be a rainbow unicorn one.
I think I think by and large the gem store skins are really, really good, and there's some really nice kind of variations of stuff. There's stuff like the Flame Kiss skins, ignoring the controversy with the light armor, and the Zodiac skins. Yeah, they're a little bit gimmicky, but they look really unique, and they've got their own kind of style about them, which I think is really cool. And I've bought the Crystal Nomad one. I've bought the Arcane outfit. I've bought the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle outfit, and I've got the Mad King's outfit, I've got the pirate outfit. There's some really great skins in there, and so but hey, I think it's down to personal preference. So
Yeah, definitely.
I'll get back in my little hate-filled box over here.
Where you go.
Oh my
What
goodness.
do you think about it, Inks?
The outfit?
Yeah.
It's not for me, but that's okay. Not every outfit is made for inks. That's fine. They also released a fan. The fan's interesting.
The fan's cool.
I always complain that there's not enough nice looking foci, or however you say it. So I like the fan. I don't think it has any animations other than open and closing, and some people were complaining about some clipping issues, I think, but I think it's pretty cool. I hate to criticize on the gem price point. I think the gem price point is maybe off by 100 or so. I think Farron's Rapier was like 500.
How much was it?
Fan, well, the fan is 600.
Oh,
but
wow.
Farron's Rapier was like 500 gems for that weapon, which is just a rapier. It's not overly fancy, and I think the fan falls into that same category. So I think it should be rated the same price.
What were the Biconics weapons? What
They're
were those?
600.
600?
But like the dagger, when you hold that Biconic dagger, Marjorie's dagger, it has like that snake
it has
tail.
the effects and stuff.
And the staff has like the phoenix feathers, and
Yeah.
so they're just like, and like Bram's shield glows, so they all have this special extra effect to it that kind of warrants that extra 100 gems. Whereas the rapier is just a rapier; it's just a sword. It looks fancy, it's cool, and the fan is a fan. It doesn't. I don't believe, I could be wrong because I don't own it, but I don't believe it does anything special.
No, it just has the opening and
somebody
closing
mentioned
animations.
something about it on Mesmer's, but I don't think it does anything special. It opens and closes, that's cool, but again, I think it's maybe 100 gems out of its ballpark.
I think so. I reckon it'd look quite good with the what's the Canthan themed outfit?
Oh, the
called?
ancestral outfit.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
I think. Oh no, not the ancestral one. Even though I think
Imperial?
that one would look really cool. Yes, the Imperial one, the one that's kind of
That's
like
huge.
got the big.
It actually
fan
looks like
thing on the
there's a
back.
fan on the back. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it'd look cool with either of those skins.
That's true.
So I think you could get some very nice kind of RP stuff going on with that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Right? If you could dye it. Why can't you dye weapons? Oh my god, it kills me. It kills me. I want to dye a weapon so bad. All right, that's where we're going to end the live show. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in. If you are here on Twitch, check the chat for links to all of our YouTube channels. If you are watching this on YouTube, just click our names, and that will take you over to our channels that you can check out and subscribe and watch many more Guild Wars 2 videos. We will see you guys again very soon.
Very soon.
We'll hopefully talk about the Guardian
Very
specialization.
soon.
Woohoo! Woo! See you guys next time. Thanks for watching, guys. Bye-bye.
Take care, guys. Bye for now.